Take three.
Right, take three. Going again. Right, so going to introduce the podcast again, actually. Yeah, right. So, myself, Jamie and Luke here, basically just looking to explore kind of the history of sport in Ireland, our sport calisthenics, looking at national identity and how that influences and shapes our participation in sport. Yeah, looking forward to it, Luke.
I am looking forward to it. Nice history lesson.
Even more so now it's your third time listening to it. Alright. Yeah, so I suppose we're just trying to look at how does calisthenics align with like an Irish national identity. I suppose we're trying to look at what an Irish national identity is, how sport reflects that and potentially influences it. And yeah, within our sport, I think there's been a huge increase in participation in Ireland. This year we've had like the most we've ever had at a World Championships. We won the Three Nations.
Get up the Irish.
And in terms of like even facilities, like the facilities are growing rapidly. With more people like with demands for facilities, whether that's outdoor or indoor. So I think like there's got to be a connection between like Irish sport and identity, and does that intertwine well with what calisthenics is.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully over the next while with the series, when we expand and we start meeting other people from the community, see what their perception on that is, me and you'll have a much better idea of why those things seem to be connecting and
together, yeah.
Doing well. So this episode is basically just us looking at Irish sport and history in general, what that links with, and you know, starting from near enough the beginning regarding sport in Ireland.
Where it stemmed from.
Yeah, and I think sport has a huge, like it's always kind of influenced by politics. So a lot of the stuff we're going to look at, like it's reflecting the times that people were living in when they were trying to participate in sport. Yeah. So I'm going to bring you way back to the 1800s. So late 1800s, there was the start of the Gaelic League, which looked at literary and like poetry, Irish literature, try to reconnect to the Irish language. And then we also had the GAA, which was looking back, like trying to reconnect with Irish sports. So these were all attempts to like de-anglicise Ireland. So the likes of football, rugby, cricket were all considered like foreign games or Saxon games. So they wanted to bring a revival back to Irish culture and
reflect their own sport.
Exactly, yeah. So we wanted to look at, okay, let's reconnect to our Irishness and see what our Irishness actually is, because colonialism was at its height then. So yeah, so sport was very much seen as a display of Gaelic revival and a symbol of resistance to English rule. So particularly within the GAA, sport acted as a key definition of Irish identity. I kind of have here as well, so like sport just becomes an opportunity for people to express that common identity, and whether that was like as an athlete or a spectator. So you think of the amount of times, like if they were going to GAA games, you know, that's them identifying potentially with like Ireland. I think I said to you earlier, the GAA was referred to as the IRA at play.
Yeah, preparing for.
Yeah.
Men soldiers.
I think I was going back a bit because I haven't mentioned this, but did in the last bit. So basically, in and around late 1800s, the perception of Ireland was like we're beastly, ghastly, and England were portraying us as uncivilized. And to like English people in England, like newspaper reports are saying that they're coming over here to help civilise Ireland. And I showed you pictures earlier of like the Gaelic Frankenstein they were calling it, and it's just an 8-foot monster with a kilt on basically, like, and that's their perception of Ireland. So I think to start, we can just look at how, obviously with the GAA, one of the founders of a quote here from Michael Cusack, and it's just basically if we're looking at what an Irish identity within sport was considered to be. So the strength and energy of a race are largely dependent on the national pastimes for the development of a spirit of courage and endurance. A warlike race is ever fond of games requiring skill, strength and staying power. The best of games of such a race are never free from danger. So if you hear that, how do you think that would relate to calisthenics?
Yeah, well, just to kind of what we touched on earlier, like freestyle, I think, is a risky game, and like you're referring to like the strength and the power stuff in calisthenics, like you're bringing out like your strongest points and all that sort of stuff. Like that's how it reflects, I suppose, in that sense. Like
yeah, like when I first read that, I was like, you know, there's so many people in Ireland that, and even like within freestyle, probably like statics maybe more than like the actual spins or whatever, but it's like you can see kind of our identity of that coming through when you've got so many power and endurance athletes coming through Ireland. And then we said earlier, like we're never free from danger. It's an easy way to describe freestyle as well. Yeah. So hopefully you can see there, like how that intertwines with Cali and are kind of what we considered Irish identity in sport. But that's the first meeting with the GAA. That's what they considered sport to be doing. So I think it's a good place to start, and I think it plays a massive influence on Ireland's like cultural identity going forward. I think I mentioned to you as well. So, like a lot of sports, again, this was Ireland's way of de-anglicising itself. I mentioned to you about Argentina. So when football started to form in Argentina, their description of a footballer was also like anti-English. Yeah. So their footballer was called El Pibe, and he was like described as a kid from the favelas, like streets, had a rope tying around his shorts, playing with a ball that was made out of paper, and just on the streets trying to like keep the ball in around broken roads. And whereas the English game was large pitches, grass, kick the ball forward. And Argentina really just liked the trickery and devilishly cunning. So like if someone dives and wins, they consider that as like, oh, deadly, we've got one over the establishment. In England, that's considered a cheat. Yeah. So like different identities come through when you see that in sport, how people participate in sport there. Right, so basically JJ Walsh, and I mentioned this to you, that he's gone. We need to stop saying that I mentioned this to you because nobody's going to hear the first bit.
On take 3.
So basically, JJ Walsh, he founded the Tailteann Games, which I'll definitely chat to you about in a bit. Honorary president for the GAA in 1918, deplored that a soccer match in Dublin had the same number in attendance as the GAA hurling final, and he asks, like, publicly, are we at war with England or are we not? So your decision in terms of what sport you would have taken part in at that time, like, you were definitely criticised for
where
it.
you stood, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we don't have that now.
Yeah.
Like,
well, most people don't know where Gaelic stemmed from or why, like, and I'm learning a lot like through this as well. Do you want to tell people what that games was or what it represented? You said earlier it was the Irish World Cup.
Oh, I will when I get there, mate. We're only at 1918 here. Yeah. Sorry, I know you want this to end quick, but we're only at 1918, a few years to go. But yeah, you can see that like the sport you chose wasn't just like you enjoyed the sport for the sake of it. It was a political value, and it was like representing, whether, as you said, so the GAA was very much like, if you played GAA, you're a Republican nationalist, and if you played soccer, hurling, like take that back. British. Yeah, soccer, rugby or cricket, you were considered supporting the enemy. So we have another quote here from Owen O'Duffy, GAA Ulster Council Secretary, and he denounced soccer as a game of the foreigner, claimed the enemies of Irish freedom patronise and finance it. Ireland asks her sons to play and support our national games, and her enemies ask you to play and support soccer. Make your choice.
Powerful.
So I think I said to you, like, we're bringing that up not to like fucking replicate or bring all that kind of stuff back up for the sake of it. It's just to highlight at the time how sport was influenced by politics.
Yeah, and what was going on back then.
I don't think it's obviously not the same now as much, you know. Like we were saying, like we wouldn't have known anything about that until we started reading about these kind of things. But yeah, basically playing GAA was a reflection of nationalism, and if you played any perceived foreign sport, you were supporting the enemy. So I have another one here. So basically, I'm still in 1918. So Commander-in-Chief of the British Forces in Ireland, Lieutenant General Frederick Shaw, announced that meetings, assemblies, just ramming it into him, every time we get to this bit, Ireland chucks something in, like.
He doesn't want this one to come out.
I know, he's up to Brits, isn't he?
Sorry, Aaron.
Get
a bit closer.
So, Commander-in-Chief of the British Forces in Ireland, Lieutenant General Frederick Shaw. I just kept thinking of the ham when I read his name, like Shaw's ham, like. Announced that meetings, assemblies or processions in public places in Ireland are prohibited without written authorisation from the police. So in defiance to this, it led to what became known as Gaelic Sunday, which led to over 1,000 GAA matches being held across Ireland without permits as a way to highlight the organisational strength of the GAA, along with the depths of its community roots. So this was their way of defiance through like sport.
Yeah. We're not going to do what you're telling us. We're going to do what we want.
Yeah, they just turned around and said, we're not having this.
Yeah.
And I think what it showed, like basically Britain or the police or whatever, they backed down and they just let it all happen. And then they tried to claim afterwards that it was a mix-up. Oh no, like we never said those games you'd have to do all this. And they were trying to say the police got it wrong. And this was never a law.
To see how much they could stop it, and obviously the Irish didn't.
And I think what it showed people at the time was like with the GAA how powerful within their communities they actually were.
Yeah.
Because they ended up, this was a success, like this was massive at the time.
It's still carried out now, isn't it? Like on the Sunday.
Yeah, and actually Sarah loves Sundays up the north, but a lot of that stuff, like there's the parochial ban, so you can't play games on a Sunday in the north.
Right.
But
why is that?
It's to do with Protestants.
Okay, we won't get into that.
So basically, they think Sundays are like obviously really holy day, but there's I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but I think it's the Archbishop at the time in Ireland basically allowed for the playing of games on a Sunday as long as it wasn't played at the same time as Mass.
Right.
So you could go to Mass in the morning and then you went to the GAA match in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's all like GAA so parochial and local. So the GAA there is a like toy with Catholics and priests and stuff with the GAA clubs. So they would have encouraged people to take part in their local GAA clubs. So like we're not coming from this, but it's what's stemmed down to us. So those type of things like heighten the sense of identity through the GAA towards Irish nationalism. I think I was saying to you that like no, that's alright. Sorry.
Have an Irish podcast and let the flag fall down.
No, definitely not.
Cian, that's your job, mate. Hold the flag up. Hold the flag. It's just like the corner flag. Mind there, then. Mind the flag, like it's important role, Cian.
It's an important piece of equipment.
So yeah, the GAA kind of heightened the sense of identity towards Irish nationalism. There was a big divide within the GAA, and at different times. So the divide was some people wanted it for purely sporting measures.
Yeah.
Some people wanted it to be something that trained up people for the IRA. Basically, they saw like all these young, capable men that should, and like a large portion of them were members of the IRA. Like they were, like it's that time of that 1918 after 1916, huge heightened sense of Irish nationalism.
Yeah.
Loads of them are also playing GAA. So I think I said to you, it was considered the GAA was considered the IRA at play, and Britain were very much like looking at it with scrutiny because it's all these young men getting together, and its potential to rise the sense of nationalism and stuff, and the unity like that Gaelic Sunday. Sorry, go on there.
I was just saying that's a big threat to the Irish or to the British. Like obviously, all these young men gathering like.
Exactly, like, and they had so many women involved as well because of camogie and stuff. So the whole like community is growing. And then I just have this, so comparing it to football up in the north. So at the same time, so you've got the north where Protestants are a minority overall in Ireland, but they're a majority in the north of Ireland. So the football team that they had played under the IFA, and they were supposed to represent all of Ireland, but it was predominantly selecting Protestant and Unionist people who were British. And they played under the Union flag, and their anthem was God Save the Queen.
But they're representing Ireland.
Yeah. And there's a quote a little bit later on in the 20s, Ireland went to play a friendly in Paris, and someone brought a tricolour from the crowd, or else the players brought a tricolour onto the pitch. That's what it was. And the secretary or whatever, someone from the committee of the IFA came down and said the match would be cancelled if they don't remove the flag.
And they were there representing Ireland.
Yeah, but for years it's like the Union flag's there, God Save the Queen is played, and it's supposed to be Ireland.
Interesting one.
Yeah, so while that's going on, that's an example. It's not hard to see why there was a split in football. So soccer have the IFA, which represented North of Ireland or Northern Ireland, and you have the FAI. So they were based in Dublin, and then after partition, so we become a separate state. The FAI became its own thing.
Yeah.
They actually became the FAIFS first, so Football Association of Ireland Free State, and then the IFA stayed up there instead as its own thing.
So that still exists, yeah, it does.
Yeah, still to this day there's that. So the GAA, in comparison, remained an all-Ireland organisation because it was so associated with nationalism.
Yeah, well, that's what it was created for, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, you've seen there where it kind of stemmed from. So up in the north of Ireland, it would have only been Catholics or nationalists playing GAA anyway. So there wasn't that divide, whereas soccer would have had a mix of everyone playing it, really. So yeah.
Flag's gone again.
Need more blue Cian. So if you only listen to this on audio, it doesn't matter, but basically the flag keeps falling off the wall.
Get a bit of tape on it.
Entrenched it in blue tape. You can see a picture of the flag falling off the wall.
The one picture he has from today.
Being tested.
Right. So we're up to roughly 19, 20, 21 now, Luke, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing well, mate.
We're getting through the years.
Got through, and it's only taken us about 15 minutes.
We got all the way over here to
No, don't worry. Calm down. I'm not doing 100 years of history on you. I don't need everyone else in the room to start crying because I'm talking too much about
Let's do
Ireland.
100 years in history. Sounds good.
So I think I've painted a good enough picture of how sport was intertwined with politics at the time.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
It's interesting.
So I could talk about the Bloody Sunday if you want. I know you'd love it, but
Go on, briefly. Go on, you
Alright.
may as well. Because like, people are watching this podcast, like, they're getting a bit more history of it, you know?
yeah, RTA will take us up on this, mate. No bother. So yeah, I don't have as much notes on this one, but basically, with at the time, so you know the general history of Bloody Sunday.
Briefly.
Go on, explain there.
Well, it was a time when it was on a Bloody Sunday, obviously. But it was a time when there was a lot of murders that happened on that time, and it was generally Irishmen, wasn't it, lined up and just assassinated or taken out, like, for carrying out their duties for the country.
Yeah, so there was 14 killed in Croke Park.
Yeah.
And it was a retaliation to the Collins squad. So Michael Collins' hitmen
Taken out.
had I think they aimed to they targeted 35, and I think they killed like 13 maybe that morning. And it's mad when you like look into it a bit more, because like obviously like we're Irish and blah blah, and but obviously the English people completely over retaliated, like the army and all going in and shooting, and it's mad when you like watch all the stuff around that time. The majority of people are just going to it, and this is why the GAA are so intertwined with Irish identity, because this happened. But at the time there was such civil unrest between England and Ireland that GAA hadn't been playing for a long time, and Tipperary just randomly called Dublin out for a challenge match. So they're like, hey, you think he's the best in the country? It is. We'll play us anytime, anywhere. So Croke Park got arranged. But because of those killings in the morning, and the Dublin goalkeeper was one of the hitmen.
Really?
Yeah. And Michael Hogan, who's the most famous of the 14 assassinated in Croke Park, he was also in the IRA.
Right.
But it wasn't a targeted. They just went in and started shooting.
Okay.
They shot first, and they killed like a kid, like 10-year-old kid, who's just on the. Because in Hill 16, you used to be able to just like hang out at the top without paying, or if you stood up high enough on something, you could watch without paying for anything.
Yeah.
And he got shot because they went in and just started like shooting everyone because they had reason to believe that obviously there's some people in the audience who are connected to the IRA.
Yeah. So
But the majority are just, majority are just there to watch a match, like. But yeah, the Dublin goalkeeper, I can't remember his name, he was in the IRA and he was involved in the shootings. But basically, I think it's your man JJ Walsh there. There was a lot of talk because of what had happened in the morning that this should be like call off the game.
Yeah.
But because the GAA did not want to be connected or seen as
associated with the IRA.
Yeah, they kept
through.
it ahead because they were like, if we cancel it, then we're seen as having something to do with it.
Yeah.
So they kept it on, and then obviously what happened. But yeah, I just thought
It's fascinating. Like, I know brief stuff about that, but there you go. I'm have to learn a bit more there. And a lot of people don't really know it.
Sorry, Sarah, for putting you to sleep there. We're nearly there.
For the 50th time.
I am. The last bit is, so we've finished the war, alright? We're free now. Go on, Ireland.
Yup.
Alright. Well, some people say we're still not, but anyway. So after we get established as the Irish Free State, JJ Walsh, that I've mentioned a few times, wants to create what's called the Tailteann Games. So the Tailteann Games actually happened before England took over.
That's what I spoke about a month back, yeah.
Did you?
Well, this is what I was bringing up and you said hang
Oh,
on.
sorry,
hang on.
yeah.
Getting ahead of myself.
So Tailteann Games, basically, before I got established, JJ Walsh wanted to reconnect to our Irishness. And before the English invasions, Norman invasions, before Aaron farted. Definitely got picked up. Okay. Okay, he's just resting the camera on the gut, like. Who needs a DJI when you just have Aaron's gut, like? So basically, before the Norman invasion, England colonialisation, the Tailteann Games was established by our Celtic ancestors or whatever, and Queen Tailteann was who it was named after. So she was like the mother of Ireland, essentially.
Yeah.
He's holding one in. Alright, so the riveting part of the Tailteann Games will start after the break, like. Right, so we finally get on to what's this now? Part 15, it feels like. So we're finally getting into the Tailteann Games, mate. So this was basically the Tailteann Games happened before colonialism, and it was based off. Did I mention this already?
We kind of briefly touched on it, but
Alright.
just cut us off.
Right, so so basically it was named after Queen Tailteann, who's considered like the first queen of Ireland or whatever, and sport was a part of it, poetry was also a part of it, literature was a part of it, art was part of it, and it was also used. So during this time, the week of the Tailteann Games, or Éire Tailteann in Irish, and at the time when it was happening, it would be a week of peace. So like all the rival clans, all that kind of stuff came together for this week and entered friendly rivalry with true sport rather than for once like just killing each other with everything else. So basically they wanted to restore and show that we had a culture and a heritage and a civilization before Keane gonna knock you out. Just over there in the corner pretending to be Spider-Man, like. So basically there was a Irish heritage and culture that we had before England came over.
Right.
So they wanted to use the Tailteann Games after we got independence to reconnect to that. Hopefully I've made that make sense, trying to ignore Keane jumping around as if he's Spider-Man in the corner.
Looks like Keane.
He's over there just thinking he has webs. Well,
How many times did this happen?
Which one?
The Tailteann Games.
Keane jumping off the bar. So the Tailteann Games, when it came back, it got re-established in 1924. Happened 3 times after that, so 24, 28 and 32. Basically, if you think of how far back it went, it was established before the Greek Olympics, and they were saying that there's evidence that might suggest that that's where the Greeks got the idea
from the Irish.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So if you can imagine, this happened straight after the Irish Civil War. And if you think of what I've mentioned with the Tailteann Games, that it was used as a way of bringing clans
Everyone
together, reduce, and they established laws and stuff, so laws would be agreed between clans and stuff during this week of peace. So basically, the guy who came back with the idea of reforming it in 24, J.J. Walsh, that I mentioned earlier, his idea was that sport is going to be used as a way to rebuild those bridges. So you had like pro-treaty and anti-treaty like sides in Ireland at that time. So this was our way of bringing them back together and showcasing how we're going to move forward. So I think it's real interesting that, like, because we're talking about sport obviously, and they're utilising sport as a way of
neutrality, like bringing people together.
Exactly. So they're using it to connect to our previous identity, to showcase that we had an identity before being colonised, and this is how we're going to move forward now, like bringing that pro-treaty, anti-treaty people together.
When did it originally start? Do you know?
Which one?
The games?
In and around like 1100s.
Alright.
I'm gonna be wrong probably, but in and around
a long time.
that. I don't. Yeah. So Cú Chulainn off was apparently part of the Tailteann Games.
Really?
Luke, loving it. Oh, Cian, do you want me to bring up the Cú Chulainn story? Cian, loving it. No one else will be loving it, but sure, look.
Go on, sure.
Cú Chulainn, so basically, Cian reminded me of this, that hurling's like the longest ever sport kind of talked about in written language or something, because there's a story of Cú Chulainn going to some dog and battering the dog with a hurl, like he uses a hurl and a puck to... It's not, what is it, Aaron? Sliotar. So yeah, he mills the dog with the sliotar. But then he kills the dog with the sliotar and feels bad about it, and helps your man raise another dog, basically, because it was a guard dog for your man, so he feels bad for him.
There you go, a bit of history.
Yeah. Anyway, right, so what have we got here? Yeah, Cú Chulainn. Oh, yeah, I have this bit here. So, basically, yeah, I've said this, it's a post-war nation, 1924. It's an aim to reconnect to previous Irish mythology, and also as a way of distancing ourselves from years of war and political upheaval, and like moving away from foreign cultural values. So at the Tailteann Games, like no Saxon or English sports were allowed to be played.
Yeah, it was only Irish.
It was trying to reconnect to that. But then at the same time, they had like motor racing and all, and like airplane races and all. Yeah, because they were like, yeah, for whatever reason. So they just obviously they wanted a crowd.
Yeah.
The motorsport thing was actually the most viewed thing of all.
What do you mean by motorsport? What was it exactly?
They had a race in motor cars in Phoenix Park.
Class.
And there was like 40,000 at it. So there was more at that than the Gaelic Games at the Tailteann Games. Like there was only like 20,000 in Croke Park. There was 40,000 watching the motorsports. So they were like, oh, we're connecting to our old Irish culture, but they love this like future mad technology, like, because at the time cars wouldn't have been as
popular.
Like the motor racing was mad.
It's fascinating. Never even heard about this Tailteann Games.
Oh mate, it's sick. So I have something here that talks about, so this is in a paper in the Kerry Man of all things, like in August 1927. So this is how they describe the games. So the Tailteann Games are to Ireland what the Olympic Games were to ancient Greece. Nothing that the Irish people could do in a political way has rivaled what the Tailteann Games will do to knit the nation into unity. Only among such a people as the Irish could there have existed through more than 2,000 years the games and sports which are a symbol of a race. Yeah, I think that's cool.
It is fascinating that I didn't even know this existed, and I only got 3 years. Yeah,
3 games, 24, 28 and 32. So I'll explain why it kind of dipped in a bit. But like the first one was, it didn't make any money. It cost them a buckload of money, but considering what they came out of, and all of a sudden there's all this, they said for the first time, like we're not just associating Ireland as like a warring country, fighting Britain, fighting each other. This is the first time where Ireland's seen in a positive light, and it brought like international attention, because they basically, you could only compete in the event if you were Irish or part of the Irish diaspora. So if you were from Irish descent.
Okay.
And this was their way of trying to bring international people back into the country. So let's say, obviously during the famine, the amount of emigration, but there's probably a lot of people worldwide that have Irish descent. Yeah. So they all came back. So there was people in the games playing GAA, but they're America, and they had like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, England as well. And a lot of them came in and played because they had Irish descent. But then the actual Olympics was on 2 weeks before our Tailteann Games.
Yeah.
And so basically they just invited like loads of real famous people to compete. Apparently Tarzan, the lad who acted as Tarzan, was at the games before he became Tarzan. No. Sad. So yeah, they obviously like trying to promote the Irishness, but then they wanted to promote internationally that Ireland was a nation.
Yeah.
And this gave it more international attention, and it wasn't just at war. It was like a positive image of Ireland. So I think it's deadly that from us, from sport and backgrounds, like to see that this was something they actively wanted to do to create a positive image of Ireland.
Fascinating.
Right. Yeah, so loads of newspaper articles coming in and around it. So I've got here 4th of August. So this is the second one. Irish Independent gave a lot of coverage to the Éire Tailteann, and it was heralded as the return of the Gael. So the return had a double significance, and I mentioned this here, but it represented the return to Ireland of Gaels from all over the world, so emigrants and the children of emigrants. And on the other hand, the notion of return also represented the re-establishment of Gaelic pride, identity, tradition after centuries of suppression, and it was returned to past glories and confidence. Yeah, what do you think of that, mate?
Fascinating. How long did this last for?
So I think it lasted for 2 weeks in total, the first one. The second one, I think only lasted 1 week. And then the third one, 1 week as well. So...
And was this all hosted in Dublin?
And I was kind of all over the country, but predominantly in Croke Park. So I think with Croke Park, they received funding from the GAA to host the games. But in return, they were like renovating Croke Park, and majority of it was going to be staged at Croke Park.
Okay.
And the guy, JJ Walsh, got the money off the government, assuming that it was a grant. Like, obviously assumed like we're doing all this to promote Irish heritage, our own identity, coming out of being colonised or whatever. And they basically, after the event,
just giving us a
it was a
loan.
loss. Yeah, they were like, oh no, it's a loan. Like, what are you talking about? It's a loan. Like, so he was going mad. And by 28, like, yeah, for whatever reason, the government were, obviously you can imagine there's probably no money in the country either.
Yeah.
And they said we're being seen as like stringent with money, but then we're splashing out on this elaborate event.
Yeah.
Like, they're spending more money at this than the Olympics were spending. There's more athletes in this than the Olympics.
That's what my next question was. What sort of participants were taking part in this? Like, numbers?
Because I think, I don't know the exact figure, but they were joking. I think there's about 6,000 people participating in the first one.
Right.
And there was something about like 1,000 people got medals. So they're like, as long as you showed up. Like,
you got something.
Like our sports stars now, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I gave them a medal, they came over. But yeah, they were keen on promoting it being positive experience and stuff as a newly independent Ireland.
You got 3 years out of it. That was it.
Well, 3 events. So by the third one, what had happened was there was a change in government. So Éire, his government take over from Cumann Gael, and basically he wasn't keen on the games.
Why was that?
I think he thought it was too expensive, and also I'm going to get into this one. So he's highly Catholic, so he's really Catholic and religious. And Queen Tailteann is a pagan thing. So he said in the first games, you can see like Queen Tailteann, someone acting as Queen Tailteann walks out, and they're all dressed in like 1100s pagan mythology kind of gear.
Clothing, yeah.
If you look up the pictures and all, it's mad. Like there's lads just walking out with like massive dogs either side of them, basically dressed as Cúchulainn and all. Yeah. And she's coming out as Queen Tailteann, but the Archbishop of Ireland is like the one that they're kind of waving to and all. So they said you have this real mix of Catholicism obviously taking over.
Yeah.
So when Éire came in, and he's looking after the country now, he wants us to be connected more to Catholicism, whereas the Tailteann Games is more associated with pagan and Gaelic, whereas he wanted Catholic. So Catholic and Gaelic aren't the same.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah. And I think he used to like help out the priests and all, like Éire did, like whatever the under second person to a priest is. It was under a priest there. So yeah, he was more interested in that. So literally the week of the third games, he organised the Pope to visit Ireland. It was called like Eucharistic Congress or something. So that went on, and there was thousands at that, and then so nobody was really showing support for the games.
Okay.
Because it was in and around the same. So
the whole purpose of it trying to bring people together, so that's a divide there alone. Just
exactly, yeah. So they said once he came in, he wanted it to be more Catholic, and he didn't show any support for the games. But I think it's class that, like, from, as I said, us as sports people, that there's people seeing that like sport is a way of showcasing our Irishness, international identity, and how it probably, they said there, it done more for the nation in showcasing the positive sides of Ireland in an international scale or scope than anything politically could have done, which is class. So yeah, I was going to kind of like say with that there. What would you take from that, Luke?
I don't know. It's interesting. It's the first time I'm to hear about it, to be honest. It sounds powerful, but then again, like, political motive behind it, like from separating the Celtic to Catholics, like, again, more brought it back to being about politics than what the event says it was set up for, like bringing peace and all sorts of people together. Like, do you know what I mean?
JJ Walsh actually also became the Irish right-wing fascist, so he tried to get in with the Nazis then and all. It's mad. Right, so like, yeah, obviously what we've talked about so far, for just obviously before I go on too much, but like, how do you think any of that would translate then for us later on, getting into calisthenics and stuff? Do you think any of that trickles down, like, subconsciously to how we perceive sport?
I don't know. I think in itself, like, to be able to represent your country is something like, and it's like another form of, you're not going to war, but like, you are going to like represent and perform at your best, I suppose, in a sense. And like you're saying, in Ireland, the power and the endurance stuff is more, we have bigger numbers than that, so it kind of, without people actually kind of probably knowing, that's what they are like representing in a sense.
Exactly,
you know?
Because I've said to you before, like, my background's in like sports psychology, and there's a concept in that like social identity, and like so social identity is you just being aware of being part of an in-group and the value you place being in that. Yeah. So obviously, like your national identity is obviously your social identity in a way, and how much value you place on that. But I think sometimes your actual nationality gives you something to place meaning to that, so you have a sense of belonging.
Purpose in a sense, isn't it?
Yeah, like you're, like, even though our community, like, you're still technically the calisthenics community, say, but when you go and represent your country, you feel you have that sense of belonging and your pride of place or whatever, because you're representing that country, that community, and the national side of it gives you that sense, rather than like the individual stuff. Like these last two comps we've had, World Championships and Three Nations, like, you've mentioned this to me, but how would you compare the two?
Totally different experience. Like, I spoke to Nico about this, and if we only had to perform as team events going forward, like, I'd pick that over individuals. Like, and the atmosphere, and I don't know, the workshop we done down here, like the team building kind of thing of why you're going over and knowing everyone and backing everyone, no matter the discipline that we are in. Like, it felt different than any other event I've ever taken part in, like
Definitely.
massively.
Like, it obviously felt different then, so why do you think, like, because calisthenics is an individual sport, so why do you think, like, going from individual to team, what do you think was, like, made it better? What was different about it?
We were showing up as a team together, like supporting each other regardless of what you were doing or whatever, and knowing why people were competing, but because we were all going to represent our country more, since that's, I don't know, it's hard to put an exact thing on it, but it's definitely a massive difference though, as going as the Irish team to compete and represent Ireland rather than going as Luke just to represent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or try to better myself. Like, it's definitely has more value, I think.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Shout out to Nico, like.
Yeah.
Nico's rage, it took this long for his name to get mentioned. Alright, cool. So, if I've mentioned that to you, right? So I mentioned about the IFA. I'm moving forward from the 1920s now, mate.
Do you want to elaborate a bit on why the difference in the two comps? What you felt?
Yeah, I think maybe at the Three Nations, because there was actual, like, how you performed impacted us. So we
Yeah.
went to the Worlds as Team Ireland again, but it definitely didn't have the same feel, because how you performed didn't necessarily impact me because it's an individual result.
Yeah.
But the Three Nations had a collective outcome, so how you perform was going to impact me.
Yeah.
So that sense of togetherness was a lot higher,
Definitely.
because we all actually had to collectively input, like, we had to, like, represent. And I think that's probably a difference between a team and an individual sport or occasion, because with the team event, when you feel like you're representing everyone, not just yourself, like, I felt that a lot more, but I felt the support a lot more.
Yeah, I think everyone backs everyone at an individual event, but when we were at that, like, the support and encouragement from everyone was, like, at a different level.
And it was the first one where you were proper way representing Ireland. Do you know, some
Yeah.
of us go to individual events and you bring the flag, but it doesn't feel as though you're fully representing the community.
Yeah.
The Three Nations gave us, I think, a full opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and maybe because we're against the Brits gave it a little bit more height. No offence, sir.
Cool. Yeah, I did mention about the difference with football, so I'm gonna go to. Oh yeah. So the last little thing I have, right? So this is more in the 70s. So I'm
Coming up the years now,
skipping
kids.
on. You're nearly there. So I just thought this was interesting because it's an RTE documentary on sport in Ireland, right? And basically, your list. Obviously, it's not like now where you've got like 1,000,001 things to watch or listen to. Like, RTE radio is probably one of the few things most people would have had, and everyone would have listened to RTE. So this was trying to create a sense of identity through this documentary that they were doing. So some of their stuff were saying, like, and it's different people speaking, but you have here, like, so sport enables us to find a sense of identity. It's an escape and an outlet valve. And again, so we're influenced by economic and political patterns, which I think we've seen at this point, which is reflected in sport. And then one fella said, if I was to describe the ethos of Ireland, it would be struggle. On the field of play, we are looking for glorious failure rather than regrettable success. What do you think? How do you think that relates to our history and stuff?
I don't know, like, state that quote again that he just said.
Just zoned out.
It's like, oh, that like makes a lot of sense what he said.
So it does, yeah. So this fella, I don't have his name down, sorry, but basically in this documentary, the fella that's talking said, in terms of Ireland, if I was to describe the ethos of Ireland, it would be struggle. On the field of play, we are looking for glorious failure rather than regrettable success.
Glorious failure. I don't know, I suppose giving it all and leaving all out there, like, rather than, I don't really know, to be honest.
So I think he's kind of getting that. I feel like I'm giving you an exam or something, but
Sorry.
don't worry, you're nearly there. Like, so I think basically, if you think of, like, our history with England, it's 800 years of glorious failure. Like, our biggest success is 1916, and we took over a post office for a bit and got milled out of it.
Yeah,
and
after so many years, like.
so a lot of people that we looked up to, like, it was that, like, oh, attempt in battle, we're not actually successful.
Yeah, go again.
Yeah.
Go again.
And then, like, our Irish football team is that so many times as well. So I think sometimes our sport is again epitomising our history a little bit. I remember so Jason, who's with the IRFU rugby, and him saying, like, Irish aren't comfortable when they're favourites. We prefer being underdogs.
Right.
And like, that kind of mentality probably sears through in a lot of competitions.
Always
for
trying
us.
to prove something, like, or do better, like.
Yeah, well, he just said we're not comfortable in that space as favourites. So they were favourites for the Six Nations, and our Irish ethos, our mentality, our history, we're never favourites.
Yeah.
And a lot of our history is, like, it's 800 years, and all our stories, like the Wolf Town, all this stuff, it's battles where we didn't win.
Yeah.
And, like, we're not celebrating it, but we're saying these people gladly, like, did this for
Still
us
went.
and did
Yeah.
whatever, but it wasn't successful. Like, we were still, Britain basically won. What?
I'm far out of them.
Thought I was just getting judged here. Yes, does that make sense, sir?
Yeah, it does.
Or we're just gonna say yeah, so we can move on. Yeah.
No, like, of all years of, like, not winning or, like, not succeeding, we still have that one little victory, like, that we still hang on to.
So I've one little thing out of this that you mentioned earlier with the difference between, like, the individual stuff. So there's one person in it, and he kind of suggested he'd never felt a nationalistic pride when he's an Irish runner, and he was like, you don't feel the green shamrock bulging on your heart. Sport is in most cases tremendously individualistic. He's like, you don't really want to share this. I don't think anyone feels like they're carrying the country on their back. So I'm just wondering, when he's saying that, because we're an individual sport as well,
Yeah.
do you think that there is an element of that for people within our sport where they don't necessarily feel like the Irish thing behind them, the identity behind it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, well, still, some people still are going as representing, like, individual. Like, you can see that at some comps and stuff. And then there's a few that are just going for the team or for Ireland. And yeah, I suppose there would be. Like, it just depends. Not to name people. But yeah, there's definitely, like, there's sense of, like, people, and you know you're there, like, just people are there just for themselves and individual, like, and then there's a few of us that are gathered as a team, as a country, and representing Ireland.
Yeah, I think that when you're in it, like you said about the Three Nations one, but, like, you're trying to find a community, and then your nation becomes the sense of belonging and community
For everyone that can
attaching.
bring us all together, like.
Yeah, you're
like,
attaching to that. Because you'd see other individual sports, like, this is just that one fella's opinion, but it just talks weird individual. Like, in boxing and stuff, everyone loves, like, MMA, everyone loves bringing out the flag, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I'm just seeing everyone dying off in the corner here, like.
Don't worry about them.
But yeah, so, like, that is essentially, there you go, we're nearly done. So yeah, is there anything else you want to, like, bring up, Luke? That's Irish history near enough, like, where we're coming from.
Not really, just wanted to get a bit of intro, and you were giving the information on the background of kind of where it kind of stemmed from and how you think it's coming down through the years, like, and stuff.
How do you think the rest of it will go, interviewing everyone else?
Good, yeah. I'm
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm mostly looking forward to interviewing different athletes, and especially people that took part in the Three Nations and stuff. And then it'll be good to maybe do some interviews with people that did the Worlds and maybe see the difference. Because people that were at the Three Nations that had done individual comps before said that the difference, like what they felt and the experience, was totally different. So it'll be good to get some feedback from people and see how people felt on an individual level, but also as a team, like.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the comparison of the two.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that made the major difference was we all, like, unified because we were going as Ireland. Like, that's what brought us all together, like, do you know what I mean?
We were going to set up a thing beforehand and just, like, ring a bell, see how many times you'd say Ireland.
Ireland.
Ireland, you just ding the bell.
Drop the euro into the jar. Going home broke.
Yeah, deadly. Alright. So, mate, thanks for coming out for the first one. Sorry, Aaron.
Do it again.
What?
Outro again and I'm screaming into the microphone.
Right. So, mate,
Thanks for having me.
you need to be excited, mate.
Be excited just about your normal voice tone.
No, just because you've real soft ears, like.
It's gonna blow, you can't hear it. This is noise, it's not actual.
Stop crying, will you? So vanilla, like. Aaron's.
I'm wearing a baseball or American football jersey. Trying to help you here, right? Come on, can't use it.
Alright. Yeah, as always, ends with an argument with me and Aaron. So, yeah. So, mate, looking forward to this over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, first one done, take 3. Got a market.
Hey, yeah, that's good, mate. Thank you, mate.